Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what to do when you have failed your medical coding exam and some tips to study for the next round. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys, so if you are taking one of the 4 main medical coding certification exams and you have failed, the 4 main ones being the CCS, the Certified Coding Specialist, the CCA, the Certified Coding Associate, the CCSP, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician-Based. These 3 are with the American Health Information Management Association, or if you're going with AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders, maybe you took the CPC, the Certified Professional Coder exam, and you have failed. Now what? This person commented just the other night on my show when talking about how to study the ICD-10 CM coding guidelines. They said taking the CCS for the 3rd time in April. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. Sometimes when you're studying, it depends on what kind of program you went through, okay? If you went through a fast-paced medical coding program, meaning that your program was less than 6 months, and you're expected to learn and know everything that you need to know about medical coding, it's no wonder that you failed, okay? Because it's a lot, and I've always said that you need 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months to learn this. So if you have taken the CCS exam, for example, and you have failed it, don't be surprised. That exam is very difficult to pass on the first try. You can look at the statistics on the AHIMA website and see that for yourself. These exams are very difficult. And if you think, well, maybe I should take an AAPC test because I hear it's a lot easier, that's not true either. Because I have had plenty of people come to me for tutoring saying, can you help me because I keep failing the CPC exam? Well, oftentimes if you are failing multiple times, it is because there is a flaw in the way that you are studying. Okay, first of all, you're trying to go too fast. If that's you, that you're not trying to put in the time to study, you have to have the time to study. And how much time is it to study? Any one of these 4, and you're restudying again for this exam, you're going in with knowledge of how this exam is set up, okay? So you actually should not be on the 3rd time. I understand twice, but 3 times is because you're doing the same thing and you're expecting different results. Now, here's the thing, guys. You're already going in, you know what the test looks like. You already have been through this once, a couple times, maybe 3 times. Now, you need to look at what you're doing. Are you putting in the time to study? Meaning that you're putting in 20 hours per week. I don't want to hear it. If you're telling me, I have a full-time job, I got kids and family. No. If this is important to you, you will make the time. I have done a whole breakdown video about how you can fit in 20 hours a week to study. 3.5 hours per day. That's 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunchtime, 30 minutes on your drive home, if you're driving home, right? That you could be listening to something. Or if you're on your lunch break, you could be doing flashcards, right? Then you have 1 hour, and then you take a break, and then you have another hour. And then you have the rest of the evening, okay, to yourself, for your family or whatever, right? So you do 3.5 hours a day for 5 days straight. That's 17.5 hours. Then you have 2.5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. It's manageable this way. And you're getting the time in. Now, what can you do in those 20 hours? You can practice looking up the codes, because that's where a lot of you are getting hung up on. Like you don't know how to use the manual. And you know how I know some of you don't know how to use the manual? Because I guarantee you, your book is littered with tabs. Am I right? It is, isn't it? You're looking at me and I know what you're thinking. How did you know? If you are not using your book appropriately, looking up the codes all the time like you're supposed to, and if you are not doing that, you're going to have tabs. Why? Because you think that that's what you need. When in actuality, if you don't have tabs on your book, that tells me that you've been looking in your book. Why? Because tabs get in the way. So if your book has tabs on it right now, you should take them all off for your next attempt. Why? Because this is already going to set a good foundation. You're going to take those tabs off. Then you're going to get in there and you're going to start practicing, looking. Oh no, Blue, I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And you know how I know that you can? Because I did it. And other people have done it. The people that have followed my advice religiously and said, oh, you know what? I'm going to listen to what she says because I think she knows what she's talking about. Let me go ahead and take all these tabs off. And then they're like, oh my God, Blue, I passed. Why? Because it forced you to use the book. And guess what, guys? If you think that those tabs make it so easy for you to navigate, oh yes, it doesn't make, no. It's because you don't know better. That's number one. Number two, if you are able to open up the book, and you will get to that, you will get like that if you start practicing, because then it's going to become second nature. This is like muscle memory. And for you looking up those codes in the book for that 1 hour, for that 30 minutes that you're studying, and then you take a break and then you come back to it, because you cannot, as an adult, you cannot sit there for longer than 1 hour and expect that stuff to stay in your mind. You have to take a break after 1 hour. Okay, so even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, take that break. So that way your brain can like simmer down and then you can start back again and fresh and keep going. Okay, and if you miss a day because things got busy at home, it's okay. You can just make it up later on. But, you know, give yourself that grace to say, I don't have to be so rigorous with this schedule. Okay, but if you're looking through the books, those tabs are going to get in your way. And without those tabs, you will notice, if you allow yourself to, you will notice how much faster you can get through those books and how much more at ease you will be with your books. Because your books do not need writing. They do not need tabs. They do not need highlighting. Why? Because these manuals are written by doctors and scholars who know what they're talking about. You just have to learn to trust the book. And that's half the battle right there, because the majority of these on these tests, right, is going to be your coding knowledge and skill. That's the bulk of these exams. So if you don't know how to navigate in those books, that's your first freaking problem, okay? That is the first problem that we have to solve. Get yourself some good workbooks. The ones that I recommend are in the description box below. It is the AAPC CPC study guide. Even if you're taking an AHEMA exam, even if you're taking a CCS, CCA, CCSP, you can still use a CPC study guide. Why? Because it uses the same code set that we all use. Everybody uses the same CPT manual. Everybody uses the same, not manual, but the code set. And everybody uses the same ICD-10 CM code set, okay? So use that book. AAPC did a fantastic job on that book. And it's great to study for beginners and even for veteran coders who need a refresher. It is a good book. So go through, Google it, use a link in the description box, whatever you want to do. But find that CPC study guide, okay, and use it. You can use the one from 2020, 2021, 2022 if you want to save yourself a few bucks. You can get the current year 1, 2 as well. Whatever you want to do, guys, okay, whatever you want to do. And the other one to learn the diagnosis coding is going to be the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the Answers by Nellie Leon Chizen. That link is in the description box below. If your test does not test you on ICD-10-PCS, you can certainly skip those questions and just stick with the ICD-10-CM questions. It has all of the answers and it has the rationale. And it has scenarios in it as well. So that is a fantastic book for learning diagnosis coding. And if you're having to learn the ICD-10 PCS portion, it is definitely great for learning that as well, because the breakdown of it is so wonderful, okay? So do that. Start practicing those coding, right? Start practicing looking up the codes. And then, of course, you want to be listening to your coding guidelines. Do that. So that way you can listen to those guidelines. And that way it'll just be there. You will know about the rules of sequencing, about all of these things. So do that so that way you can have that in your mind. Again, you don't have to memorize that part. And you will have those guidelines with you when you go into the exam, because it's part of the book, you know. But if you do that, that will help. Okay, that's just my advice there. But taking it seriously, all right? watching videos on Crash Course on YouTube about medical terminology and anatomy. If you are not good with medical terminology and anatomy, you need to practice. That's not negotiable, okay? And you may say, oh, I hate it. This is the industry that you're getting into. So you need to get over that you don't like it, okay? Because again, it's going to be easier if you submit to learning it, not just try to resist it all the time. Because the more you resist, the harder you're making it for yourself, okay? So that's something that you need to know. The other thing that you need to know is for like the other domains, people will ask me all the time, how do you learn about like the reimbursement side? Guys, there is Google. There is Google. All you have to do is just put that, whatever it is about reimbursement, maybe it's the DRGs and things like that. Maybe, it's other things, whatever, RVUs or whatever that you don't really know about or you're confused or whatever. Google those. So that way those references can come up. There's tons of free resources online, all right? But that's what you have to do. And you have to be very regimented during this time while you're studying. If you fail a test and then they give you the option to be able to take it 30 days later, do not take it 30 days later. Why? Because even though you say, oh, well, I was just this close to passing, if you're taking any of the AHIMA exams, the CCA, CCS, or CCSP, these are going to be different exams every single time. So your next attempt, you really want to make sure that you have a full understanding of what's going on. And maybe there was something that you are lacking in, and maybe it is the coding portion. And so that's when you know that you have to make sure that you're doing your studies and you're looking up the codes and you're writing out those answers. You can go to sites like justcoding.com. They have a free subscription and a paid subscription. And on the free subscription side, they have 5-question coding quizzes. I've had ungrateful people tell me, well, Blue, those were so easy because it's multiple choice. Why can't you cover up the answers and look them up yourself and then see if any of your answers match the answers for the multiple choice? And if that's the case, then that's when you know you're on the right track, So I'm just saying. But it's just an extra resource for you all to learn from, okay? And it is okay to learn from older books if you need other workbooks, right? Because again, those two that I recommend, the CPC Study Guide and the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the answers, they have a version without the answers, but you don't want that one. You want the one with the answers, okay? But if you get those and they're a couple of years old, maybe it's a 2021, 2022, that's okay. Some of the codes may have been deleted, and maybe you see that answer that they have there in that book is not in your book. That's how you know that code has been updated, okay? And there's ways of confirming what is the actual code. So it's not for all of the codes. It's just maybe, onesies or twosies here and there. But again, it's just something to help you practice. So that way you can go through those things, all right? On my Patreon channel, I do have a once a month study group that we have over Zoom. If you pledge $10 and up, you get access to that. It's only one time per month. It's not pre-recorded because, again, it's for everybody's use. But we talk about coding questions. Sometimes I'll put coding questions up and we'll go through, the scenario and work it out ourselves. And then we talk about the answer. So I think that that's great. You certainly don't have to pledge past a month, but on my Patreon channel, I do have crossword puzzles and word searches and quizzes that you can practice with. And so that's something that's also an option. And for $10 a month, I think that's a pretty good deal. And again, you certainly do not have to pledge past a month, but all those funds go to furthering my education. So that's just something that you should know that's also available there. There's tons of tutors on LinkedIn if you are needing a tutor to help you get you through something that maybe you're just not understanding. I am also a tutor myself. My rate and contact information is in the description box below. I am currently booked and I will not be available until April 2024. So if you're interested, again, my rate and contact information is in the description box below. That way you can contact me if you are interested. So with that said, the thing that you also need to remember when you're taking these tests is you've already been there, done that. This is not going to be something that is new, okay? When you go into this testing room, you've been there before. You are familiar with what it is. You don't need to distract yourself with, oh, well, it was because people were coming in and out. No, you're not focusing on what you need to be focused on, which is the test, okay? Because when it's 0 hour and it's just you in that test, it's you, the test, and those books, and that's it. You don't need to be worried about anything else. Oh, this person, that person. No, you need to be focused on your test. You need to have worked with your books so much that you're very familiar with where to go in these books. Again, these books do not need to be tabbed. You see all of my books back there. None of them on my coding manuals have tabs, okay? I'm just saying, because again, it's unnecessary. And when you are getting more confident with looking up the codes, that's when you can say, you know what, I'm more confident now. I didn't have any structure before. I didn't study as much as I should have. But now that I know that Bleu recommends 20 hours per week, and that's a heck of a lot better than what I was doing at 5 hours a week. That's a joke. If you're only studying 5 hours a week, and I'm not trying to be mean, but really, seriously, that is a joke. 5 hours a week, there's just no excuse for that. Because again, when you're squirreling in 30 minutes here, an hour there, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, it adds up. And again, if it's important to you, you will make the time. I've had mothers who are married and they're still having to do everything. And they're like, okay, well, I got up before my kids and my husband because I wanted to get some study time in. Then I started making breakfast and everything for my kids and my family. And then, I got them off to school, but I was able to get an hour's worth in before it all started. Then when I dropped the kids off and I came back home, I was able to study again. And, I was able to put the baby to sleep and then do another 30 minutes. And then put the laundry in. And then I was listening to the guidelines, or I was listening to Crash Course. I was listening to this. I was listening to that. They're doing things to get themselves in that frame of mind. And if you know that your test is coming up and you have all of this still to learn, if you're pacing yourself well at 20 hours per week, you will make it, okay? If you're practicing like you should with the workbooks or with looking up the codes, if you have the Optum books, this is not an ad for Optum, but you guys know I love Optum. They have those scenarios before every single chapter. And if you cover up those answers and if you cover up the rationale, you can start looking up every single one of those codes in that particular chapter. And that way you will have run through all of those in the ICD-10-CM manual. And that way it can help you. If you are, taking the PCS portion in your test for like the CCS or the CCA, if you work through the back of the spiral bound Optum ICD-10 PCS book, there's Appendix M like in Mary, and it has a whole list of 388 ICD-10 PCS procedures that you can look up, and it also has the answers, and for some of them it has the rationale. But if you take the time to work through all of those, you will be proficient by the time you go in to that test center, because that's what I had to do. When I took my test back in 2021, in March, I took the CCSP because I had my CCA. But there are some things going on in the back, and it required me to move up from the CCA. And I said, okay, well, I've done my part with the CCA. And so I am going to put this to bed now, and I'm going to go ahead and move on with these credentials. So I got the CCSP. Well, then, of course, I have the CCSP now, I have to get the mastery. So that's when I said, okay, but I really need to buckle down with ICD-10 PCS because I don't have practical hands-on experience with that at work because I'm an outpatient coder. So what I did was the back of that Optum book, the spiral bound book, in Appendix M, I did all of those procedures, and I felt so much more confident at the end working up through those. And then of course working with the Nelly book and working with the CPC study guide, because yes, I use those to help me to study. Okay, so that's what you can do to help you to study. It doesn't take you having to get all these coding manuals, and that's coding manuals, but the like the CCS prep books, guys, don't get those. Don't get those. Why? Because none of those questions are going to be on the test. And I think that's common sense. But I have gotten some very upset emails from folks saying, well, I really studied and memorized all of those questions that were in the HEMA CCS prep guide, and none of those questions were on the test because they're not supposed to be. If they were, then there would be no way to gauge people's knowledge, you know? So that's why I say that if you are practicing like this, like I'm telling y'all to, you'll have a better chance of preparing yourself than you will trying to memorize or work through a study guide that or study guide for the exam that's not, those questions are not even going to be there. Okay, but if you practicing with these looking up these codes and things, that will help you a lot more than you trying to find these little shortcuts, because guys, shortcuts don't work. Not in this industry. Not in this industry. And you will see and know the difference. But if you take the time to practice and you take the time to look up those codes, again, you're going to be a lot more confident. Or you can isolate where you know that you need to really study on. But think about this. If it's just maybe cardio that is your nemesis, you know that's something that you can really kind of look at, work on, do the best you can, and then you can really concentrate on the other things that you know maybe that you need help on, you know. And again, guys, anything about HIPAA, anything about any of those things, DRGs and RVUs and things like that, that is an easy Google search, guys. It is such an easy Google search. You don't have to get a book for that, okay? But you may be able to find some books at your local public library. So that's something that you can always use as a reference and a resource, okay? So there's been plenty of the tips that I've given throughout my channel. Watch some of my videos to stay motivated if you need to. Take a look back through my Instagram channel. I have the templates for this study, like the times. I even have the times broken down. And if those times specifically don't work for you, then you can adjust to fit your schedule, okay? But it's just times that are like recommended, like 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, you know? And so that way you can get your practice time in, get your study time in, and stop making excuses. Stop making excuses for yourself and stop saying, well, it's because I have this and it's because I have that. If you know that you need to get up a little bit earlier so that you can study, you'll do it. If you know that you need to sacrifice your TikTok time, oh yeah, don't think I don't know. Because there's people that say, well, you know, I don't have time and blah, blah, blah. And then you see them, they're on Facebook, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, and they're doing all of these things except for studying. Don't be that person, guys. This is not forever. This is just temporary, just to get you to be able to pass your test. So you need to focus on that. Not saying that you can't have a break and then enjoy TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever the heck is going on out there. But get back to it. Do your 30 minutes, do your 1 hour at a time max, and then take a break and then come back to it. I'm just saying. So with that said, best of luck to you. Take it seriously, okay? Take it seriously and get yourself some discipline and stop making excuses for why you can't study, because yes, you can. If it's really important to you, you'll make the time. And with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, and I've been so happy to be able to do my clapping this week. So if this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.